everyone, welcome back to Shilpi's Academy. So today is gonna be the third lesson of our English and Business Communication paper, and that is comprehension of passages. See, this comprehension you all would have done in your school level also. I mean, I can tell you about myself that we had this English paper, as I told you all earlier, and that was only about comprehension. Up to 40 marks used to come in only for comprehension. And I used to love doing that, okay? Because I was so already experienced and good with reading. I was an avid reader, like literally, I mean, it's a fact, okay? I used to be caught reading storybooks inside my textbooks all the time. And in my house, we had a rule that at 9 p.m. the lights should be switched off. And once that lights was switched off, I used to go to the balcony or to the washroom and read my Sydney Sheldons. I was so crazy about reading. And sadly, you know, that this generation is not much into reading because even if some of you are, probably you're more into the technology side of reading, like Kindle or something. But trust me, guys, the experience and the feel of having a book in your hand with pages to turn, it's unmatchable. Just try it sometime, okay? So this in comprehension of passages, we have to learn on how to quickly read the passage without, like, you know, it's not just a quick reading without understanding, okay? It's like you have to quickly read the passage and at the same time understand the main crux of the topic, okay? Understand what is the main agenda behind that topic, what is the feeling, what is the emotion behind that topic, and what is the basic thing that the author is trying to say. All right, for this you need to have a good vocabulary also, because even if you don't know the exact meaning of the words used, at least you should be able to comprehend, at least you should be able to understand what basically that word is trying to say. So all that is very important when we are doing comprehensions. Now let us start this and understand what are the ways in which we can score well in comprehension. When we were doing comprehension, sadly, we didn't have all these pointers, okay? I just used to read the comprehension and carry on with it. But now they have made it really easy for you all to understand on how you should deal with the comprehension. So let's just get started and see how we can score the best in this, all right? So here we come. Comprehension of a passage. The first point is the important strategies which you need to solve comprehension passages. For your syllabus, you only have text passages, okay? I remember we had even done in CBSE board. I mean, if anyone is probably somewhere in my generation, you would know, CBSE also used to have poetry comprehension. So one was a text and one was a poetry. For your syllabus, it's only a text comprehension. That is a passage, a proper passage which is given, okay? So let us understand what are the strategies. First thing is read the passage as fast as possible, okay? That does not mean that you just skim through it. What they are trying to tell you over here is read the passage with, even if you are not understanding each and every word, it's okay, but try to read the passage as fast as possible so you understand the main theme behind that passage, all right? That is the first step. Second step is get thoroughly involved with the paragraph to understand it. The first reading can be a very quick reading where you just understand the theme of the passage. The second reading can be where you're trying to understand what exactly they're trying to say, like how the sentences are connecting, and be very careful of certain words, okay? Sometimes when we read it quickly, you know, what happens is they would have told something in a negative sense, but we would miss, I mean, we would miss that. So when we read through the comprehensions, I'll advise you on how you can do this, okay? The third one is underline the important lines of the passage to understand the main idea of the passage or tone of the author, which also helps to answer the questions. This is very important. While going through the passage itself, if you feel that, yes, this sentence is something which is trying to tell the theme of the passage, it's not possible to underline probably in your question, but you can just make note of those things, okay? As in make a mental note of those things. What is the main idea, what is the tone of the author? By tone of the author, what we mean, no? Whether the author is telling all these things sarcastically, or whether he's worried and telling all these things, or whether he's criticizing someone, or whether he's praising someone, whether he's very sad and upset and this is coming out. That tone you have to understand. That's very important. Okay. The next point is try to translate a complex line in your own words as it helps in analyzing the main idea of the paragraph. If you see any complex lines, which just pay a little more focus, pay a little more attention on those 2-3 lines and try to understand what exactly are they trying to say. You know, you can just in your mind translate it into simple words like, okay, so this is what they are trying to say, you know, something like that. Underline or mark keywords as it helps you to discover logical connection between the passage and helps in understanding better. You may or may not do that. To be very honest, see, I'll tell you something very frankly, which is personally my perspective. Okay, you may or may not agree to it. These all steps, practically, I didn't really used to do in, you know, when I used to solve the comprehensions. There are few steps which you will do subconsciously. Few steps you have to do consciously. In my school also, our teachers used to tell us to read the comprehension 3 times. However, I never did that. I had this habit, I was comfortable with this habit of skimming through it once, reading through the questions once, and then going back to the comprehension and reading it carefully again. And this is the process which I followed, which really worked for me. And while you're practicing, you can follow the same process and find out if it is working for you. It will work. Skim through the passage, go through the questions, and then you can read to the passage once again. All right. Coming to the next part, do not assume anything on your personal belief. This is very important because, you know, whenever you're reading something, try to read it with a very neutral mindset. Don't get your own conclusions, your own thinkings into the picture. It clouds your vision basically. You know, you're not able to see things the way they are because you are bringing your personal beliefs into the picture. Look back to the paragraph when in doubt. Of course, this is the most important because when you read the paragraph quickly first, or even if you read it very slowly, when you go to the questions, you will have to again go back to the paragraph and understand what they are trying to say. So this is one very important step. Read the questions and all the alternatives provided and choose the most appropriate one. Yes, definitely. I think comprehension is one thing. I mean, for the other subjects, I will not advise you this. For the other subjects like say legal aptitude and all, if you are, or even current affairs, if you're doing, if there is a question, I always suggest that without seeing the options, you think what is the answer and then you see the options. Okay, it really helps because sometimes the options are so confusing that even if you know the answer, you get confused. So first, without seeing the option, you think what is the answer and then you read through the options. All right. But for comprehension, I never say that you first think of the answer and then read the options. No, you read the questions, you read the options, and then you think what is, you know, applying the best, applying most closely. So for only comprehensions, I would suggest to read the options first. All right, this I feel really helps. So this is all about the strategies that you need to solve the comprehension. Instead of following this big strategy, you can just simply follow a 3-step approach, which I personally recommend to all my students. First thing is read through the passage quickly. Quickly means not as so fast that you don't know anything what happened after the end, okay? But skim through it quickly and understand what is the main theme behind the passage. Second thing is go through all the questions, options. Third thing is go back to the passage after seeing those questions, question-wise, okay? Question-wise, go back to the passage and then read that portion once again and then answer the question. Okay, so these are the 3 steps. Read through the passage, go through the questions, go back to the passage, read it. This is the basic simple 3-step approach which you can follow. Next, what are the skills that you need to comprehend the passage well? Logical ability, fluency, inference power, analytical ability, reasoning ability, sentence construction and cohesion, reading speed, vocabulary power, working memory and attention. I'll just explain all this to you in a smooth way. See, you won't really be getting questions from this. This is just for your understanding, all right? Whenever you're reading any passage, you need to have a logical ability to interpret it, to decipher it, to understand what they are trying to say. For this, you need a certain logical ability. Okay, you cannot let emotions rule that. Okay, if supposing something that passage is talking about women empowerment, for example, so a lot of the women out there feel very passionately about the subject and get emotional about it and take things from emotional perspective. Do not do that. I say the same thing for law also. Never judge case laws or anything from an emotional perspective. Always be very impartial and think how logically it can be done. Okay. So number one is you need to have a logical interpreting power. Fluency is there. You need to be smooth with the entire thing. You should be fluent with how the sentences are getting connected, what they are trying to say. Inference power is again the same thing, or your ability to interpret the meaning. Okay, sometimes the sentence is saying something, but the meaning, the actual meaning behind the sentence is something else. So you need to understand what is the author trying to say. Okay. For example, sarcastically, I can like generally our mothers are experts with this. Okay, your mother would tell you after you have had a lot of junk food in the evening, she can ask you again, so you want a cake more, you want a slice of pastry more, and that's not that's a sarcastic comment, right? So you need to understand where sarcasm is there, where criticism is there. Okay, the person is not asking you actually whether you want a slice of cake or not. The person is actually sarcastically saying that you have now had enough, now do you still want more, that kind of a thing. So you need to understand, interpret what is the main theme behind this comprehension. The next is your analytical ability, reasoning ability, which is pretty similar to what we have discussed. You need to understand the reasons, you need to analyze what is happening, then sentence construction and cohesion, how the sentences are construed, and if it's a long sentence, whether it's in a negative way, in a positive way, how they are connected to each other, what they are trying to say, those kind of things. Your reading speed has to be good, your vocabulary has to be good, and attention and working memory. Okay, working memory is, I think, at your age, it's good for most of you. Three important things. Okay, in this entire thing, I will tell you that there are four important things. In all this skills which your book has told you, the four important skills is you need to have a good reading speed. Okay, and that cannot be built overnight. Let us be very frank. It cannot be built overnight. I would suggest you, not just for clearing CSET, but in general for your life ahead, make it a habit of reading at least 50 pages of a book every day. Okay, I personally read 100 pages every day. I mean, I used to be doing that for a very long time. Past few months, I have not been able to do it that much because of various reasons. But I would still, once I'm done with my work which is in hand, I would still love to go back to that level where I used to read at least 200 pages a day, 100 to 200 pages a day. For you, I would suggest to start with 50 pages a day. You can pick any fiction, non-fiction, romance novel, any anything, but a book. I don't mean the newspapers or the news apps and all those things. That is different. That is required in a separate level, right? So do that. Number one is your reading speed. Second thing is your working memory and attention. Most of the time, it used to happen with me at least. I was a very daydreamer kind of a person. I was not distracted when I was in my student days, but I was a little bit of a daydreamer. So sometimes I used to be reading the comprehension, and in between I used to get lost. Like, I'm reading, but my mind has gone somewhere else. So when you see the questions, you're as good as not knowing the questions at all, because you were daydreaming. Your attention was not there in the passage. So even if you miss the attention for 3-4 lines, you miss quite a lot of it. Okay, so you might miss a very important point. You might miss the entire theme of the passage itself. So it's very important to make sure that you are alert and you are properly paying attention and reading that passage. Okay, that is very important. Third is your vocabulary. Vocabulary, again, we have done the vocabulary chapter. We have exposed you to a lot of new words. This is possible, as I told you. Make it a habit, guys. Make it a habit. Every day, 3 words. Pick up 3 good words. Use it in a sentence and use it throughout the day as much as possible. Okay, while speaking to your mom, your friend, sometimes it might not suit very much, but still, just try to add that word everywhere. Trust me, it becomes a part of your lingo. It does become. All right, so try doing that. So these are the requisite skills that you need for solving a comprehension. And let's come to the next part. That is your key takeaways. Analytical ability, fluency, and vocabulary skills are key to reading a comprehension. Yes, they are definitely. Being able to connect ideas within and between sentences helps in understanding the whole set. This is again a kind of a analytical ability or interpreting ability only. That when you are reading, you're trying to connect the sentences together. You're trying to connect the hidden meaning together. So that's important. Reading aloud and talking about experiences can help build reading skills. Okay. This is again very important. Okay. I think I should do a video on this. Probably by the time you see this video, the video would already be out on the YouTube. The video on how to develop your English and reading skills. See, English is not just about reading, okay, or writing. Reading and writing is another game. Most important thing is speaking. Okay? Speaking, and I mean, if you're trying to improve spoken English, that is. If you're trying to improve your written English, then it is writing. It's not reading, it's writing. Okay. So if you're trying to improve your spoken English, you have to speak. Reading is where you're consuming that information. Okay. It is 30% of the job. But actually, you learn only when you start speaking. And I don't mean start speaking about any topic that you have read. Start speaking on your experiences, on your personal beliefs, on your emotions. Okay. Any topic which is close to your heart. Content should be yours. So you could just speak about, just stand in front of the mirror and speak 10 minutes about the last trip that you went, your experiences on that trip. So these kind of things is gonna help you a lot in improving your English skills and vocabulary also. So read aloud, talk about experiences, they will help build your reading skills. Reading speed should be fast in order to scan and skim and summarize the major points of the passage. This point I've already discussed with you. Next is paying attention while reading allows taking in more information from the text, and working memory allows them to hold on to that information and use it to gain meaning. This part also I have explained it to you. Be very alert while reading the passage, and that time when you're alert and you're reading it, your memory, the working memory, the memory which is there in the present, that is going to help you to retain that information and use it when you are going to answer the questions. All right. So these are the basic takeaways that we had from comprehension of a passage. And now, before I start practicing the comprehension with you all, in the next video, that is, I would just like to tell you a few things that you need to remember. The first thing is, when you skimmed through the entire passage, the first point is find the central idea in the passage. Find out the main theme on what that passage is trying to talk about. Sometimes, we just read through the entire passage, we understand the sentences, but we fail to look at the bigger picture. The bigger picture is that what is this trying to tell you? What is the main idea, main theme behind that passage? And most of these passages, they are not independent passages. They are actually an extract from a bigger passage. So say if you get a 120-word passage, it is not a 120-word passage. They would have extracted it or taken it out from, say, a 1,000-word passage, a 1,000-word book, say. So you have to find out the central idea behind that passage. Focus on the details, of course, and logical structure and tone of the passage. Interpret what they are trying to say from there to where they are connecting, the connecting dots. You have to make that through this mind maps. As you see, since I use most of the time, I use mind maps to teach, which I feel is an extremely effective strategy to learn, because when you see the entire mind map in front of you, the thing somehow becomes very clear. You know from where what is connecting, from this point how many points are coming out. So it kind of just the picture just kind of stays in your head, and that's important. So these are the 4 things which we are going to remember, and that is your central idea of the passage. We'll focus on our details, we will logically interpret it, and understand the tone of the passage. That's also very important. All right. So these are the few things which you need to remember in order to solve any comprehensions. Okay. So in the next video, I'm gonna walk you through 2 examples. Okay. We are gonna do 2 comprehensions, and we're also gonna do a para jumble kind of a concept, which I'll explain you in the next video. Till then, before you watch the next video, if you have time, or actually you should make time, pick up a book, pick up any other reading material and read at least a 50-page today. Okay? Bye-bye. See ya till then.